It's about time. How's it going, everyone? I'm Adam Molina, and we finally have some AirPods hitting the streets. My local Apple store won't be getting them until around mid-February, but luckily there are other ways to get your hands on them, like eBay. If you're thinking of getting a pair, you're probably wondering if they're actually any good. Well, let's find out. The box is pretty standard Apple packaging, all white with a picture of the product on the front. Opening it up, you'll get the charging case with the headphones inside, some instruction and warranty booklets, and a lightning charging cable. Like it or not, Apple is still pretty damn good at build and design, and that's still the case with the Apple Airpods. Kind of. Even though it's made of plastic, the charging case feels great in the hand. It's lightweight and sturdy enough to easily be tossed in your pocket, which is good because you're gonna want to keep the case on you at all times, if only for a place to store the buds when you're not using them. The bottom of the case has a single lightning port for charging, and on the back there's a button to enter Bluetooth pairing mode for non-Apple devices. But what really makes the build stand out are the magnets. The lid is actually held closed by a small magnet, and flicking it open just feels secure and easy. The sturdiness kind of reminds me of a Zippo, where I don't need to worry about it opening in my pocket. There's also magnets on the inside of the case that keeps the earbuds in their rightful place, so even if the lid does open, these won't fall out. Then on the inside of the lid, there's also a small LED light that tells you if the earbuds are pairing or not. It may sound like I'm praising Apple so far, and that's because I am, but then you get to the AirPods themselves, and the praises kind of stop there. I have mixed feelings about the design because I saw a bunch of people wearing these at CES, and they don't look that bad on other people. I just can't bring myself to wear them. I really don't like the way they look. If you were maybe an early adopter of Google Glass, maybe this won't bother you, but I just can't see myself wearing these in public. The AirPods literally stick out of your ears, but on the bright side, they do stay in pretty well, at least when I'm sitting still or walking. We did a whole video on how they fit during different exercises that dropped along with this one, so make sure to go check that out if that's what your main concern is. As for the actual AirPod design, these don't look too different from regular EarPods, just without the wires obviously. You have the plastic hardshell casing that's supposed to be a one-size-fits-all, which I highly doubt if the AirPods are anything to go by. More like a one-size-fits-most. But on each earbud, you have a tiny microphone for voice calls and a small sensor that gives you a few controls when you tap them, which leads us to the next section. These have Apple's latest W1 chip, which we also saw in the Beats Solo 3 when we reviewed them. We did a whole video about how they fared at CES when connected to the iPad in my backpack, but for this review, we're gonna split up into two sections. How they connect to iOS and how they connect to Android. Connecting to iOS is as simple as tapping connect on the card that pops up on your device. When you connect to one device, it also connects to every device on your iCloud account, except for your Apple TV. You'll have to do regular Bluetooth for that. During testing, music never skipped once while connected to my iPad Air, except for when I was really testing range, but that doesn't really count. You also get full access to all of the cool sensors and features on iOS. For example, when listening to music, you can take one earbud out to pause the music, and placing it back in your ear will resume music. You can also double tap the outside of the earbud in order to access Siri. You're also going to have to get used to talking to Siri because that's the only way to raise or lower the volume, which is kind of stupid in my opinion, especially if you're in public or on a subway. In the settings, you can change the double tap feature to actually pause or play music, but that's kind of redundant because if I'm reaching up to double tap, I might as well just take them out and let them auto pause. And then when you put them back in, they auto play. I mean, I guess it's kind of practical if you don't want to take your earbuds out, but still. When it comes to range, I was able to leave them on my desk and walk around my entire house easily without any stuttering. That's about 70 to 80 feet away with walls and a floor in the way. Not bad at all. Overall, I'd say connection was pretty great on iOS. Connecting to Android, however, was more of a process and kind of a different story. The connection was still impressive, just not great. To connect, you have to pop open the case, hold down the button on the back of the charging case to enter pairing mode, and also find the AirPods in your Bluetooth settings. Okay, whatever, no big deal. But once connected, the experience is also slightly different. The connection strength to my Pixel wasn't nearly as good as on my old iPad. I counted about 9 annoying stutters in only 2 hours of listening, and range also suffered on Android. I was able to get to the fringes of 50 feet before stuttering occurred if I turned the wrong way, which wasn't the case on iOS. This is to be expected considering the new W1 chip is optimized to work with iOS, but still something that's worth mentioning if you want to use these with your Android device. You also won't be able to automatically pause music by removing an earbud. Music just continues playing. Double tapping the side of the AirPod also won't access the Google Assistant either. These don't have too many features to begin with, but on Android, they barely have any features. All you can do is double tap to pause or play whatever you're listening to. Though I was still impressed with the range and the synchronized music playback, it's easy to say that they don't play as well on Android as they do on iOS. Charging case aside, Apple claims that the AirPods will get you about 5 hours of constant playback, but I never quite reached that. When I was connected to only Android, I got about 4 hours, and on iOS, I was able to squeeze out about 4.5 hours of constant playback. That said, I can't see too many people draining these too often because the only place I felt comfortable storing them when I wasn't using them was back in the case, which charges them up anyway. The case lets you charge them back up completely about 4 more times, and if you're running late, 15 minutes in the case will get you about 3 hours of playback, which isn't too bad. As we mentioned earlier, Apple took a one-size-fits-all approach, which means that these probably won't fit your ears perfectly. That means that sound is going to find their way into your ears pretty easily, and these things leak like it's nobody's business. If you don't want the person next to you to hear what you're listening to, you're going to have to turn down the volume substantially. On the bright side, they do get pretty loud. Right to the point, the low end isn't great. It could be because of the lack of a seal, but the bass line in California by Childish Gambino feels like it's a very low mid rather than a bass line. I wasn't expecting much to begin with, but it was still kind of a letdown. Just like the regular wired earpods, the mids are given a huge boost, so vocals come through crystal clear. This goes for voice calls as well, by the way. These are probably the clearest phone calls I've ever taken on Bluetooth buds. When it comes to music, you can easily sing along to your favorite tunes, but background elements don't really sit well with each other. Basically, every instrument in the song Generator Second Floor by Freelance Whales seems to lose its weight and depth. Considering how loud these get, I'm actually pretty impressed with the highs. Sure, there isn't a great sounding shimmer after a cymbal hit, but nothing really ever gets harsh or painful, and that's pretty much all I can ask for in a pair of Bluetooth earbuds. Let's be honest, you're probably not getting the AirPods for sound quality. And if you are, you're better off just getting the AirPods because they're way less expensive and they sound very, very similar. The reasons to buy the AirPods have nothing to do with sound and everything to do with convenience. The case is beautifully built, taking one AirPod out to autoplay works perfectly, and the connection rarely, if ever, drops. People are gonna hate me for this, but they just work. That said, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. These are clearly made for iOS users, and they still don't offer much in terms of extra functionality. Their competitors like the Jabra Elite Sport Wireless or even the Bragi Dash offer things like heart rate monitoring and workout tips and even waterproofing. But those are also more pricey. If you don't care about any of those features and just want to listen to music, the AirPods aren't terribly priced at $159, but they don't sound great and the world will judge you, at least until they become more commonplace. We're giving the Apple AirPods a 7.3 out of 10. And that's about it for our review of the Apple AirPods. Thanks for watching. If you want to know more about these, make sure to check out SoundGuys.com. And while you're here, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. And sign up to our monthly newsletter so you can stay up to date with all the news, reviews, and audio news here at SoundGuys. Also, make sure to check out the connection test and the fit test that we did with these, which will be linked below somewhere down there with the rest of the stuff. I'm Adam Molina. I'll see you later. How's it going, everyone? I'm Adam Molina, and we finally got the AirPods in for review. Google Glass, this might not bother you, but I just feel like make sure to check out soundguys.com and also check out the rest of